Hey, and welcome to the Drep and Stone podcast, a podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Kyle, you know what I've been doing lately?
What have you been doing lately?
So I've recently gotten into the sport, the phenomenon that is the pickleball.
Pickleball.
I know you've known this for a little while. Like I told
yeah, we've
you
talked about it a bit.
Yeah, but I don't think I've said it formally on the podcast. So I need everybody else to know.
You're coming out. Nice.
I just want everybody to know.
Okay. I get it. Yeah, no. You want everybody to know that you're in that life.
I'm setting my pickles free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was invited to play the sport known as pickleball.
Yeah.
By my father-in-law.
Yep.
And I went in with a certain level of bravado.
Yeah.
And it was immediately crushed.
Oh.
By people in their 60s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was about 2 months ago. And so immediately as I packed up all my stuff and I tail between my legs went home, I went, I am now going to figure out how to do this and crush these people. And
like in what way? Just in their skills?
Well, I think it's like
surely you're not getting out athletically performed here.
No, definitely not.
It's just they can put English on it and
correct.
A little bit of that stuff.
Yeah, well, I think it's like I didn't know 90% of the rules, so I'm just like hitting
making it
and trying to do the thing.
Yeah.
But now I know all the rules and now I know what I'm capable of.
Strategery.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So I've had a chance to play with a couple of friends who are younger.
Yep.
We'll say.
Yep.
And it becomes then a little bit of a different game.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like
cool.
I never played tennis. I played racquetball for a little bit as a kid. Like my dad got into it for a minute, so Carol and I played
squash.
Racquetball. I do enjoy like an acorn. I do like some butternut. I like a good pumpkin as well. I think that is all in the squash and gourd family.
Summer.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but sure.
Sliced and fried.
Oh, I mean that's the Alabama
a little
way.
cornmeal. Yeah.
Sure. But it's, man, I really love ping pong.
Same. Yeah.
And this combines, basically it's like a version of ping pong and tennis.
Yep.
So it's like a more full body, full contact.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun, man.
I bet.
Yeah, we got to go play.
Oh, man.
I think you'd like it. If you like ping pong.
Is it a requirement for 4 people?
No, you can play 2.
Just 2?
Yeah, that's what Carol and I play, like just her and I.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can definitely play 2.
I mean, like in my neighborhood, we have a tennis court. Yeah. There's 2 courts. I went out literally yesterday morning.
Yeah.
To walk my dog. It's probably like right at 8 o'clock.
A.M.?
A.M.
Yeah. You said morning.
Sorry.
No, you did. No, you said morning. I was checking. I was testing you. You passed. You
got me.
Yeah, you're good.
We walked by the tennis courts. They're covered up.
Picklers.
At 8 o'clock in the morning.
With the picklers or with the tennisers?
Kelly Pickler was out there.
I made that joke so many times lately.
We walked by and there's both courts have games going on.
Yeah. With
teams waiting.
Oh yeah.
On the sides.
For sure.
Waiting for their turn to go.
Oh, dude.
I was like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
holy cow.
My in-laws neighborhood. Like that's when they play, which makes sense.
I mean, I get it. You're trying to beat the heat.
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, dude, listen.
Man.
When you finally get into it, I'm willing to come to your neighborhood and destroy some people. I'm just letting you know. I will be your second.
They look very.
Or you will be my second, I guess.
They look very intense.
Oh yeah. It gets brutal.
Yeah.
Like I've got scars.
Wild.
No, but you can play with 2 people, and I think you'd like it.
That's from the jellyfish.
That's true.
That's not from pickleball.
That's true. It's from the jellyfish. Yeah, I wanted to get that off my chest.
Cool.
Yeah. You want to go right now, or you want to?
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
I'm
not asking you to devote your life to it.
Well, just what worries me is I'm very competitive. And I'm worried about opening that door. It gives me a lot of.
Yeah. Listen, I got to be completely honest with you too.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah.
So much so that, like, I've been able to, through CrossFit, squash my competitive nature.
Sure.
But I cannot do a CrossFit competition, primarily for that reason, because I am not a good person when that happens.
Right.
Like,
me neither.
When I'm competitive.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I say we go try it, and we'll go from there.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of see what happens.
Yeah.
You want to drink something?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to continue with the summer of cocktails.
Hit the Drep and Stone Summer of Cocktails.
Oh.
Summer 2024.
I love it.
Coming to a podcast near you.
And by near you and coming to a podcast right now.
I mean, you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This week's cocktail.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We are doing a Blackberry Basil Bourbon Smash. A Basil Hayden Blackberry Basil Bourbon Smash.
Wow.
That's a mouthful.
A lot of basil.
Yeah. So this is something that I did not come up with this by any means, but I've been interested in using basil in a cocktail.
Okay.
And so I just kind of started.
Any reason why?
No, other than
you have basil plants and you're trying to use it up.
I really like basil as a
herb.
Thank you. I like the flavor of basil, and I've had in the past at different cocktail bars like drinks made with basil, and I really am interested in the pairing of sweet basil, which can be both sweet and peppery, and something like a cocktail. So it's like I gotta figure out something.
Yep.
So I just started doing some Googling, and I was like, what would be a great cocktail to use basil in?
Yep.
Okay, so you got basil, which can be both sweet and peppery.
Yeah.
And blackberry is in season right now. Blackberry basil. Let's see what I can do with that.
You
So
typed in that?
I literally did, yeah.
Yep. Basil.
Blackberry basil. I was like, what? And I think cocktail. Blackberry basil cocktail. So then I started doing some digging through the interwebs and started playing around with some specs and found one that I absolutely love. So we're going to do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Sounds fantastic.
So everybody's going to hear us making this. All right, let's go make one. All right, we got our cocktail shaken, stirred, muddled, poured, and ready to go.
Yep. Here we go.
All right, so this is a basil blackberry bourbon smash.
Basil.
Yeah, we made this with Basil Hayden. I had the toast on hand, and I want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
No, I had the toast on hand, and I figured that was the right call here.
Yeah, I think some cocktails open themselves up to be utilized with liquors that maybe you're not your favorite.
Sure.
Especially if it's a cocktail that's going to have a lot of other flavors in it.
Yeah.
That's wise.
And here's the thing, like, there's nothing wrong with Basil Hayden. There's nothing wrong with Basil Hayden toast. But it's one of those, like, I don't mind putting this in a cocktail. I know it's a like a mid-range kind of bourbon. Some people will be like, why are you putting Basil Hayden toast in a cocktail? Because I want to. Back off. It's my cocktail.
I want to get rid of this bottle.
A little bit. But also, it's my cocktail. I can make and drink how I want.
Yeah.
So step off.
Put Pappy's in it if I want.
Exactly. Pappy's and Coke ain't nothing better. Anyway, so here's the specs for this. Ready?
Specs.
All right. You take 3 basil leaves and a small handful of blackberries, and you muddle that up. Muddle it.
With your hands?
You can. Feet are fine. But no, you put this in a cocktail shaker and you crush it, basically.
Oh, with a muddler.
Yeah.
I got you.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Then you take a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. I use Demerara, which is a type of sugar. It's kind of like a brown sugar-esque, if you will. And made a simple syrup, which is 1 part water to 1 part sugar.
There you go.
Yeah. Then you pour that in there. You mix 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice and then 2 ounces of your favorite bourbon. Again, in our case, we use Basil Hayden. Then you shake that all together in a cocktail shaker. You pour that into your rocks glass and you top it with just a bit of soda water. And you got some ice in there, and you garnish with blackberries and basil leaves. And that's what we've done.
Beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a
really pretty drink.
I was just going to say, it looked pretty.
She a pretty drink.
It's real pretty. It's a little thick with the blackberries. Like, it kind of chunks it up a little bit.
It's chunky, too. Yeah.
But, man, that is a pretty drink. What do you got on the nose?
Man, just like freshness, like fresh berries.
Yeah.
The basil obviously comes through. Smells like a Bath and Body's work. Bath. One of them. Kirkland.
Yeah, it's really
Yankee.
it's really floral. It's really bright. It's really sweet on the nose too.
Yeah.
But
it's
it's
like
not
a fruit salad.
But it's not like artificial of any of that. All right, shall we?
Yes.
What you think?
Delightful.
Yeah, it is.
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
Like so much of a berry sweetness.
Yeah.
You know, it's like almost like a jam jelly kind of a thing. Obviously, like I still enjoy the sparkle from the soda water. The bourbon's underneath all of it.
Yeah.
Just kind of like holding it all.
Exactly.
Caressing it.
Yeah.
Really good.
And to me, like, I think I'd like a little bit more basil.
Wow.
But
more basil.
I think I would. For me.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate out of the kind of the specs we gave, you know, just a couple basil leaves, muddle that together, you get that basil note in there. And then when you garnish with basil, as you sip, you're really smelling the basil as you're sipping the drink.
Sure.
So I think that like the basil is not the note that's forward, but it's like it's tucked in there and you get hints of it throughout, which I really appreciate.
Right.
Yeah. And the basil too, when you do get that hint of basil, the basil becomes like this kind of spicy, almost astringent note, just slight. And because of that, it offsets the sweet of the blackberries.
Yeah, that's great. Is this how many times have you made this now?
This is my second time.
Second time.
Yeah.
So you haven't started playing with it yet?
Nope, not at all. I've used the exact same specs both times.
Yeah, that's great.
When I do play with it a little bit, I think I might use a little bit higher proof of a bourbon to see if that cuts through a little bit more of the sweet.
Right.
But I really love this drink as it is.
Yeah, that'd be like my one kind of nitpick on it would be like something with a little bit more so that the bourbon came through a little stronger.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit more proof, maybe like 100. Hell, I mean, it might even be worth like trying like a little JD.
Yeah. Maybe
barrel proof,
because you know the Basil Hayden is all 80 proof basically, and again I like it because the notes are there. But maybe if I jacked it up, like you said, maybe to about 100, that's going to cut through just a little bit more, and I think it's going to produce that bottom note a little bit better.
Yeah,
that I already like here, but just give me a little bit.
Yeah, but it's there, but yeah, just super subtle. Like that's one that like I feel like if it was everything was the same, but just a little bit more bourbon, underneath it all.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say that as it is right now, fantastic.
Yeah, great, absolutely great. Like, I love it when you get a chunk of basil in your mouth.
Yeah,
you grind that up. And then that now is like, oh man, very fresh and all that kind of tingly bits happening in my mouth right now. Fantastic.
I think for me, this is a late afternoon cocktail. Like for us recording right now.
Time and place.
Yeah. Late afternoon for me.
Yeah, it's a dark color in and of itself. So like, yeah, to me it does suggest like a darker setting. But yeah, maybe late afternoon, golden hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a lot of flavor.
Oh yeah,
you know. Yeah. So,
but to be fair, you drink it whenever you want because it's fantastic. So Kyle, now that we've got, I think, an amazing cocktail.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about this week?
Well, it's reminding me, like, you know, especially like when you look at the cocktail, especially like when you're looking at the ice cubes, there's this really light purple.
Yeah.
And the main villain in X-Men 97, when it just wrapped up, and the main villain was Bastion.
Yeah.
And his skin is a light purple, just kind of like that. So maybe we should talk about X-Men 97.
I like the way your mind works. Sure.
It's an easy tie-in, and it's very obvious to me. I don't know how you didn't fall into it. X-Men 97.
Yeah.
It's another one of those things that's making me believe even more so in the life is a simulation theory.
Okay, how so?
Because that series was so important to me as a kid.
Yeah.
Loved that series.
Yeah.
So
the
much.
original X-Men.
Yeah, back in the 90s. Like I had the little Wolverine that had the little bit on his back that you move your thumb back and forth and his claws would go back and forth, and I had the little like 3-inch version, then I had like the
big
the 1.5-foot version. I had the big Cyclops. And I had so much of that stuff. I had the Omega Red, and I had all of it. And I loved that thing so much. And so then when the X-Men movies came out, loved those. You know, it still didn't, hit so hard like the series did because, black leather. But it was still fun to get to see them, as actual people. And then the X-Men just disappeared. And for this series to come back and for it to be as good as it is, for somebody like me who was so into it as a kid, and for me to now have kids and my oldest daughter, for her to be so into it also, and for me to get to enjoy watching this continuation of this series that just makes me feel like a kid again, for it now to be redone and be so well done, and I get to enjoy it with my kid, is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's like it was all just meant for me.
For sure.
And I feel like it's just that whole thing of like, yeah, nah, man, it's all just a simulation. Whoever's in control right now, he's having fun, and he's like, making my heart build up. But,
let's go back to 30 years ago, and boom, there we go.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I love, first of all, that they've taken the animation style. I mean, like, obviously the theme song, all of those things, and they've not updated it, but they've polished it just a little bit.
Oh, so I wouldn't even say just a little bit. Like, you go back, like, as
I
soon
mean,
as they
I
put
haven't, I haven't seen the original in forever.
They've had it on Disney Plus since day one, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, I've been watching it even before I knew that this was going to be a thing, because that series was so pivotal for me.
Yeah.
I've been going back and watching episodes and like showing it to my kids from the beginning of Disney Plus. So, like, I've been absolutely like loving it. So to watch that old stuff, and then even just seeing like the trailers and the previews that they were showing, oh man, I was getting the tingly bits all over. Like, it was ripe.
Yeah.
And then when the first episode came out, they kept that theme song, rocking. Oh man, like it just, I can't imagine it being better.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things of like, I was excited when they announced it. I was kind of confused because it was like, I don't.
Why are you?
Why?
Yeah.
Like, why not just reintroduce the X-Men? Like, just have a new series or something like that. But
I think this is the right play.
For me, it is.
Yeah.
Like, because it hits every nostalgic note for me.
Yeah.
And boom, I'm 10 again.
And it both is, I think, in some ways, a nostalgia grab.
Yeah.
But it also is a continuation and a it's not a reboot, but it's also kind of a reboot. Let's continue telling the story and update it just a little bit, just enough.
I'm gonna argue, like, it's not a reboot at all. It's 1,000% a continuation. Like, 75% of the voice cast is the same voice cast.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Oh.
Like Storm, Wolverine, like, so many of those guys are the same people. So many of the story threads from the original play dividends in this
for sure
season.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely just a continuation. It's just now we have better graphics.
I guess that's what I mean. It's not a reboot. It's an update.
Yeah. It's just a fresh continuation.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even say it's a fresh reboot or a fresh take on it. It is literally the continuation of it. Like, for all the other nerds out there with me, like, I keep saying Sebastian. Bastian, his origins are in the old series.
Oh.
Like, even down to like the details of his parents are in the old series in a futuristic version. One of the episodes that takes place in the future, you see his parents in that. It's bananas. Like, the details that they hit in it are so minute and so specific, but they all pull all their information and all those details from the original series to make the storylines in this one all connect.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
So I think, like, for me, it's also a clear indication, or it's a clear, like, you have someone, the creators love X-Men and they want to see this continue.
Yeah.
And it's both a continuation, but it's also paying homage to everything that's come before.
Yeah.
In so much as, like, I know I said reboot, but it's not like let's just scrap everything and start afresh. It's, here is what you already know, and we love this thing as much as you love it. We're treating it with care. Let's continue forward.
Yeah. I think what works so well for this series too is, at this point in time, they're able to fully utilize the Marvel collection of characters. Like, so far, every episode includes a cameo from some random character. And a lot of times it's in the form of one of the main characters morph. They'll morph into a character from something else.
Right.
Like, there'll be the Hulk, or there'll be Psylocke or something like that. They'll morph into something, into a different character. So it's still morph, but it's as a different character. But in this, especially in the last episode, it's so cameo heavy. You see the Avengers, you see Spider-Man, as Peter Parker meeting up with Mary Jane, which was like a continuation of the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s because they all happen in the same universe.
Yeah.
You see all these different characters across the Marvel threshold of different characters and storylines. You see T'Chaka, like they've got it all in there. They pack it all into this, and it's just as cameos though. It's they never take part in the storyline. You see Doctor Strange working in a emergency room, but they're just as cameos. It's just to show you how the effects of what's happening, what the X-Men are dealing with right now, how it's affecting the Marvel world as a whole.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's opening it up that, you know, if they wanted to continue the Spider-Man story
right
in this same universe, they could do that. If they want to start a Doctor Strange series in this universe, they could, and they can have the X-Men jump in whenever you want and it be way more like a comic book.
Yeah.
Because if you want to just, for a very brief moment, have Wolverine show up to do a thing, he can, and it's not paying Hugh Jackman millions of dollars to do it.
Right.
It's you just draw him in.
Right.
And you don't have to pay anybody.
Exactly.
You know? And that's a lot of those cameos are like there's no voices that go along with them. It just shows them doing the thing, and you just can't do that in the movies without so many other
same way
red tape to be cut through and stuff.
Because you could very easily put, you know, Deadpool in a movie and have someone who's not Ryan Reynolds voice, you know, something like.
I bet you can't. I bet he's got his contract.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
he has to be the voice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could, but you just mentioned the red tape. You can't.
Right. That's
like,
yeah.
Yeah. So with something like this, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You know, it's not Ryan Reynolds that's voicing Deadpool.
Right.
It's, you know, somebody else, obviously. So like, why not?
And it's interesting too, like, you know, because this takes place in a different universe at a different time period than the MCU. It's not so. It has to be exact,
right?
Like we've grown so accustomed to the MCU and everything fitting and matching up and stuff, whereas here you're able to just let it be the thing,
exactly,
and it's so refreshing.
Yeah,
and that's so good.
That's the beauty of it, is that like because of like we've talked about this, but the downfall of Marvel currently, I think I don't want to say downfall, but maybe a hindrance of Marvel right now is that interconnected nature.
Yeah.
In terms of like they've created, and Feige really has created this behemoth of a perspective that like, how are we going to do all of this? And I think that you've seen some of that fatigue, and we've talked about this fatigue within the last couple of movies of like, okay, where do we go? How is this going to work? Whereas something like this can exist as a standalone and can exist within the larger, let's bring in some other characters. We happen to have to go to New York to do something, and
there's Daredevil.
Peter. Yeah,
there's Peter Parker.
There's Daredevil. There's Peter, and it's not even like you don't even have to do Peter as Spider-Man. You can just have a guy walk by who is very clearly Peter Parker, and like, oh wait, okay, we're in Queens. Got it.
And it's so great now because the whatever software that they're using to do the animation, once the character models are built, even though it's still a 2D rendering, it's there. It's all still computer animation, but it's just they're animating it 2D.
Right.
So like that was one of the things that I saw an interview with one of the show creators where they were talking about, like, if you watch the original series from the 90s, the scale of the Sentinels changes constantly throughout one scene. Like in one scene they're taller than a house, and then in the very next scene they're like walking through a mall. It's like you can't be both. Like these things don't change size.
Right.
So like why here? Like, you know, like the whole character can fit in the palm of its hand here, but over there it's like knee height. Like so like it just never made sense that way. Whereas here, all those scale issues are fixed constantly. And so like, but yeah, like if you want Jubilee to show up over here in this show because they're here and she walks by in the background,
right,
you just have her character model walk through.
Exactly.
And it's absolutely that person. That's what I'm saying. Like you couldn't do that in a movie.
Yeah, agreed.
Without having so many contracts written and stuff. And Crazy stuff.
And back to that, like, this is part of what, and again, we've mentioned this, that I think that the beauty of the streaming kind of platform can be is it's, you don't need to tell me these main storylines. You can continue a storyline. You can also now play around with things. You can expand, you can contract, and I'm super interested to see what they do, not only with X-Men, but also with other things as well. What can they do that works?
Yeah, I think too, just because it's animation, I think it reflects the comic books and certainly in a more accurate way, because they can do their looks and their costumes specifically the way that they need to be. Like that's one of the great things about this series was about, halfway to 3/4 of the way through, they all have to revert back to their 70s costumes.
Yeah.
And they look so amazing.
They do.
They look so great. Yeah, and then they wear those costumes throughout the rest of it. And it's just such a rewarding thing that, again, in live action, that's going to require so many visual development people to work on it and try to get it to look right. And then you got to go through costuming people, and then they have to get fitted with the actor. And it's just so much stuff where it's like, in animation, man, put Wolverine in the brown and yellow suit.
Exactly. Yeah. Versus like, you got to make Hugh Jackman look like that.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, no.
Here, you just
do it.
Click.
Yeah, you just make him look
done.
right. They look so dope.
They look good.
Storm in her 70s outfit looks so good. Looks amazing. Which I love the mohawk look too.
The mullet.
But yeah, man.
Yeah.
They did such a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've nerded out every week. I have looked forward to this unlike any other series that I can remember watching recently. In this last episode, you see Daredevil, and he actually has like a few minutes of like stuff that he's doing. You see Doctor Strange. You see T'Chaka. You see Iron Man and Captain America. T'Chaka is T'Challa's dad.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
So you see all these characters and how they're dealing with what's happening with what the X-Men are trying to stop, and they're all dealing with it at the same time. And like, there's a thing with Magneto and the United States is about to attack.
Yeah.
And Iron Man and Cap are there, and they're trying to like talk down the president of like, don't do this. We don't know. Like, it's so interesting. And like, you could totally just see them creating a whole MCU around this.
Yeah.
And starting, all right, well, let's do the comic book threads of that time period or whatever. And I think too, like something that they did that was so smart is like they're taking some story arcs that took a decade to do and condensing them down to like an episode, like a 30-minute episode right. of stuff that was like way too convoluted and they were doing at the time to like solve a problem with a character. That now it's just like, oh yeah, like they did that then to explain this, but like we can totally just knock that out in 30 minutes.
So I've not seen the whole series yet.
Right.
As is my MO.
Right.
But something I remember of the original series, not only watching it as a kid and even thinking this as a kid, but watching it as a kid and then watching a little bit as an adult, and then obviously all the iterations that have happened, in the 2000s to now basically, is that X-Men has always been something that's been a little more politically engaged.
Yeah.
It's like Marvel's political engagement side.
Sure.
So have they continued that, whether it's like a societal, cultural kind of thing?
Absolutely. That's what the X-Men story is.
Yeah.
That'll always be the story of the X-Men.
Right.
It's essentially an issue of
acceptance on...
It's essentially about racism.
Right. Yeah.
And like, we are different from you. And there's a certain part of the populace that is against you. And it's what makes Magneto such a great villain. And it's what makes all great villains is that you understand his side of it.
Yep.
You understand why he's pissed off. You understand why he's so mad at humanity is because humanity has done nothing but like been an absolute opposition to him his whole life. And so you get it. You understand why he's mad, and you understand that if he has that kind of power that he can stop it, that he would.
Right.
And we had this conversation the other day, and Lorelai's like, I don't think he's wrong. And it's like, well, yes, you can understand his viewpoint on this, and you can understand that if you've got the power to protect your people and keep them from being harmed, you want to do it. but you have to do it in the right way.
Yeah, you have to consider
you can't just wipe out the other side because you can.
Yeah.
The heroic aspect of it is doing that, but also trying to protect that side because you understand that you're more powerful.
Right.
And like that's like that's what makes a hero and a villain. They kind of have the same perspective. It's just they have different ways of trying to achieve it.
Right. It's the the heroic perspective is also recognizing the ramifications of doing the thing that actually needs to be done,
right?
Or the thing that maybe even you want to do, but doing that would have massive negative
while watching your people be killed,
exactly,
and stuff like that. Like, have you how far have you made it? Have you made it to Genosha?
No.
That like I think that episode, it's like the 5th episode.
That's what I've heard is the turning point.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way that the show creators built it up was that the first half of the series is meant to be like you're back in the 90s, you're back to being a kid again, and this is all fun, and you're remembering these characters. And then episode 5 happens and wrecks your world.
Right.
And then the last half of it is
dealing with
it, and how do we overcome this?
Oh man.
Yeah. Like it's so good. But that episode 5, I've heard is going to be nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Like that these are and I think for the writing, if I'm not mistaken,
like for the storyline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God, that's fantastic.
And it's
that a cartoon. That a cartoon.
Yeah.
Not even an animated thing, like cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like that episode is so good. Like I've rewatched that episode already like 5 times. And I bought my kid a shirt based off of what happens in that episode.
That's cool.
So good. And like we were saying this before we started talking, but like it's not a kid's show.
Right.
Like kids can watch it. I think, this is not, I mean, you go back and you look at like the sexualization of that show back then.
Yeah.
Like it was still
definitely there.
But like it's still, it's still very themed in that way. But it's also, it's got a hefty plus in action and violence and stuff like that. Like
but nothing approaching like
it's for the kids who watched that
or,
at the time and who are now adults.
Right.
But at the same time restricted enough that it still feels like a cartoon from the 90s.
I mean, looking back at
they're not like running
things,
around swearing and like decapitating, and they do actually do some decapitating. But like it's not
invincible.
It's not vulgar violence.
Right.
It's still animated comic book violence.
Right.
It's not invincible in that way, but yeah, it's not done in that grotesque
hyper violence.
Yeah. It's still done in a Marvel way.
Sure. Now I need to go finish it.
It's great.
I'm gonna go finish it right now.
And like the last 3 episodes are like all one long episode. So it's part 1, part 2, part 3.
Are you good to hang out for like 4
Yeah,
hours?
if you want to, bro. I'll go do it right now. I got no plans tonight.
I mean, we both have to work tomorrow, but
yeah,
I'm down.
I'm down.
Okay. We'll make another one of the basil.
Here we go.
And we'll hang out.
Yeah.
And we'll do the thing.
Do the thing.
On that note, you got anything else?
No. I gotta let these chill bumps wear off. But other than that, I think the last few sips I got here of my basil bourbon, blackberry
bourbon
Hayden smash. Get me there.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, we want to know, what do you think about the Blackberry Basil Bourbon Smash?
Hayden.
And we also want to know, what do you think about X-Men 97?
What do you think about it, bub?
What's your favorite episode?
All of them.
Well, I want to know what the people think.
Right,
yeah. I mean, I know what you think.
I see. I'm sorry. Yeah. What was your favorite episode? Which one made you cry the most? Let us know.
Well, you can get in touch with us through email. That's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Drep and Stone, DREP and Stone. Come find us where you're socializing your media, and I'm sure we're socializing some of ours right back at you.
Yeah, we got a lot of really cool things going on in the social medias. We got a lot of pairings going on.
Yeah, a lot of fun with that.
Oh, yeah. A couple of pictures of us with some cocktails.
Yeah.
And probably some summer travel stuff. Who knows?
Who knows?
Well, at least coming up.
Yeah, I just did a post the other day of some pictures of our stickers on a beach somewhere.
I saw some Jamaica beach.
I need some more stickers, BT dubs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah, if you want a sticker too, listeners,
Just reach out.
We can get you a sticker.
We can hook you up.
Yeah, put it on your Tumblr.
And we'd also love it if you support the podcast. You can do so through our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/DrepandStone. You can also support the podcast by rating Drep and Stone wherever it is you get great podcasts like this one. You can also support the podcast and yourself by getting you a couple bottles on Flaviar. That's Flaviar.com. Use the promo code DSP10. And hey, while you're at it, also go over, check out our friends at RationAle.com, and you can use the promo code WELCOME25 and get your amazing non-alcoholic beer there.
Best non-alcoholic beer on the market.
Yeah. And you can support the podcast by telling someone about Drep and Stone.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Very easy. You're sitting there waiting in line to buy a comic book at the bookstore because you're absolutely enthralled with the X-Men now. And you say, hey, I'm sure you probably listen to podcasts.
I do.
Have you heard Drep and Stone? Like, they just released an episode about X-Men 97.
What?
Yeah. Drep cried
3 times
because he's that emotional over it. You should totally listen to his take on it. I bet you'll like it.
What is it again? How do I find it?
It's Drep and Stone. It's one word, DREP and Stone.
And I can find it where?
Everywhere.
Oh, just that easy.
On the internet in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the internet. Oh, podcast. You said that. I know.
Podcast,
I'm
website,
sorry.
social media. They're all over the place. Making like supremely good content.
Cool. I'll check it out right now.
Yeah.
Cool. On that note,
high five.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're back to the podcast. I was still role playing.
Huh?
I was still role playing.
On that note.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow
and your ass never show. Not used to it yet. I'm still used to that pure ping.
Yeah, nothing like a Glencairn ping, but these are
Clank.
These are rocks glasses. So we got what we got.
We got what we got.
Yeah.
Hey, cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Mine's healing nicely.
Your jellyfish scar?
No, that one I had.
Yeah. It's healing. Mine's healed, but it doesn't look good.
It ain't never gonna be the same.
Nah. What's nice about this drink is you get a snack too.
I know. It's kind of like the other one. Like you get a little seeds.